The 2022 NFL offseason has been one of the most dramatic NFL offseasons that I can remember. The Bengals got in on the drama all weekend long, and Lyle Collins is the new right tackle.
You are Locked On Bengals, your daily Cincinnati Bengals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, Bengals fans, and welcome to another episode of the Locked On Bengals podcast. I'm your host, Jake Liscow. He's your host, James Rapien. Thanks for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Bengals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, free and available everywhere you get your podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Bengals, the episode in which Lyle Collins became a Cincinnati Bengal, is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline is where the game starts. And James, we're going to obviously start our show today and spend a lot of time today on our show with the Lyle Collins saga. It was a true epic weekend and a real roller coaster ride for Bengals fans. And it concludes with a happy ending. He never left town. The Bengals didn't let him go, per Jeff Hobson, despite multiple reports to the contrary. And apparently he has agreed to a 3-year contract. And those are all the details we have.
Yeah, those are all the details we have right now. Don't yell at us on YouTube if there are more by the time you watch this. That's how it works with breaking news. Look, it's huge. It's huge because the Bengals didn't let him get away, and they rolled out the red carpet, and then they kept that carpet down, and it included Joe Burrow and Frank Pollack, and we can dive into all of it. But really, and I said this going into free agency, I don't give a damn about Lyle Collins or Alex Kappa or Ted Karras or whoever. I just want guys that can block for Joe Burrow and keep him upright. So whether it's those guys or other guys, in the Bengals, a week into free agency, if I would have told you a week ago that Lyle Collins, Ted Karras, and Alex Kappa would be wearing stripes, right, would be wearing the orange and black, would be at Paul Brown Stadium, I would have signed up for it. You would have signed up for it. Joe Burrow certainly would have signed up for it. And so it's a huge week for the Bengals. This was a huge win to kind of put the cherry on top, but he's also the best player. So it's not like it's the bonus. It's like the main course. It's like we almost got dessert and we got the appetizer. Maybe it's appetizers, right? And that was the main course. Maybe we'll get dessert later. Maybe it's just going in order of a traditional dinner that doesn't include Built Bars, because, I always have, my Built Bars. But no, it's huge. And I'm really excited, much like the Super Bowl, right? And I felt bad for I'm really excited for the fans because there's reason to believe now that Burrow was just scratching the surface of what this, what he can be, what this offense can be, what everything can be. So there's a ripple effect that we can dive into. But Lyle Collins is a Cincinnati Bengal, and what a wild ride. We can reflect on the ride too, because man, I wasn't ready for it to get done today. I thought for sure it was getting done. Friday night, I was pretty certain. And then Saturday it went off the rails. And I don't know maybe it was little terms, little negotiations, little tactics, whatever, by Peter Schaefer. He fooled me because I thought it was done Friday night. And it took an extra day, but the Bengals were able to get it done.
Yeah, you and I were DMing on Friday night trying to plan for Saturday because both of us were expecting the deal. We told each other, I think the deal's done. I think it's all but signed at this point. He spent Friday night at Joe Burrow's house. Apparently, we'll talk a little bit more about the story. He was seen at Kenwood Mall. What a crazy weekend. And
real quick, Jake, on the Kenwood Mall thing.
Yeah.
I almost went to Kenwood Mall.
I was going to ask.
I don't live far. You know where I live. I don't live far from Kenwood Mall. And I'm like,
you could have walked.
Dude, should I just go? Like, should I just go to the mall and be like, hey, Lyle, where are you? Should I do that? And I didn't, because I didn't think that would benefit anybody. And I don't think he would tell me anything. So I didn't do it. But yeah, that's where we got, where I was like, maybe it's worth the 2-minute drive. I was definitely driving. It was raining. I was definitely going to drive, but yeah.
just absurd. The day that Bengals fans had on the internet on Saturday was nuts. I was encouraging people to just turn their phones off on Friday night to, John Sheeran, this popular term the kids are using these days, James, go touch some grass. You've seen that, I'm sure.
I saw John say that. I still didn't actually know what that meant. I mean, I guess I guess I get it, right? But
I've seen it a few times. That's a thing that
Oh.
people say now. And I get it, go outside, touch some grass, don't be staring at your screen. Yeah, you and I were talking about it, trying to plan our show. I went to see the Batman on Friday night and got home, I don't know, 1:00 or so in the morning, had an alarm set for 5:30, told you, hey, text me if I need to actually wake up so we can potentially record a podcast, because both of us were expecting it to get done. And then when we got to noon Eastern time is when it started to seem a little weird.
Yep.
I was expecting fully that this deal would have been reached on Saturday morning. We were both ready, I think, for most of the day to record a podcast if we needed to at the drop of a hat. And then the report that he had left Cincinnati without a deal emerged twice, actually. First, it turned out to not be correct. And it was only the one Miami reporter who was on it at that point. So no one else had corroborated it. And then later it was Garofalo, right? Garofalo. Sorry, I always mix that up. And at that point, it's like, okay, he's leaving. I had heard that New England was a likely next stop, and that visit never materialized. And then very quietly, and this is what's crazy about it, we heard nothing all day. No one had any inclination that he was still in Cincinnati, that they were still working on the deal. And like all the people that were in my DMs who claimed to have contacts at Paul Brown Stadium, maybe did, maybe didn't hear a thing from them all day until actually the minute before the news broke. And then I heard from one of those guys. So he apparently was on to something there.
Yeah, it's a couple things, right? So all that stuff was leaking. I think that was legitimate reporting. And I think that's an agent that was freaking negotiating his ass off in Peter Schaefer. Can't confirm that. Not sure. Who knows? Maybe it's because, people like me are like, yeah, the deal's going to get done. I mean, I wrote it. It's different saying it and DMing you versus writing it. Like things are like everybody seemed confident that I was talking to that it was going to get done. And then the bottom dropped from it. And I think it was just good negotiating, which is great. Good haggling. And again, we don't have the money, but it does matter. I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but it almost doesn't matter when it comes to protecting Burrow, because there was going to be a clear drop off. They're not in the Armstead market. And so there was going to be a clear drop off at what the Bengals were going to have at tackle, at least on paper in 2022, if they didn't get this deal done. So we'll see what it was. By the way, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reporting, and I knew the Patriots were in on it as well, but Patriots did make a competitive offer. So they offered him, and the Panthers in on it too. And I didn't see them. I thought the Dolphins were kind of on the outside looking in, potentially, maybe if Armstead doesn't get done, then they pivot. But I mean, this is huge. So this is everything you wanted the Bengals to do, they were able to do. And I don't know how they structured the deal or anything like that. And you have Willie Anderson saying how it was the contract structure. Well, they ironed it out and they found a way to get it done. And ultimately it's did you get it done or did you not get it done? Well, the Patriots didn't get it done and the Panthers didn't get it done and the Bengals did. And well, I think Lyle Collins is smart because the Bengals are clearly better than those two other teams and they have the better quarterback and they have an actual shot of winning championships in 2022. So, that part of it as well. And I'm not trying to take a shot, Patriots fans, because I know you're listening to the Locked On Bengals, because who wouldn't today? But yeah, it's pretty clear that Mac and company, Mac and Cheese, it's not going to get it done in 2022.
I think the biggest thing about this to me, James, is that they closed the deal. Because on Saturday night, when the reports came out that he had left Cincinnati without a deal, I was flooded. I had to mute replies on my tweets for the first time I've ever had to do this. Because it was just overwhelming. Like, of course they didn't get it done. Once he's gone, it's over. The years of trauma built up in Bengals fans, I think. And it was all coming out. And the fact that, he didn't leave town, they got it done quietly. Really impressive stuff. Marissa Contepelli recently tweeting, the first thing Lyle Collins told Joe Burrow is your new bodyguard is in town. No one's touching you. Love that. Love the mentality he's going to bring and what he's going to do as a player. And that's what we should talk about next, James, is what Lyle Collins does for the Cincinnati Bengals in 2022.
But first, well, I have to tell you about Built Bar, the #1 protein bar on the planet, the bar that Lyle Collins needs in his life. And I got to be honest, maybe this is what got the deal done. I could totally see this, this intense negotiation at Paul Brown Stadium, and Katie Blackburn turns to Lyle Collins and says, look, we'll give you a year supply of Built Bars if you sign on this dotted line. And that might have gotten it done. I can't confirm nor deny that, but I can confirm that Built Bars are the #1 protein bar on the planet. High in protein, low in sugar, low in calories, perfect for me, perfect for you, perfect for Lyle Collins, Katie Blackburn, or anybody else on the planet. So check them out right now at built.com. Use promo code LOCK15. You're going to get 15% off your order. So whether you play for the Bengals, whether you're just cheering for them, you're going to save right now with promo code LOCK15 at built.com.
James, before we dive back into Lyle Collins, CJ Uzomah tweeted as we were recording this, and I know he's gone to become a New York Jet, but all morning for me, I guess all day in Cincinnati, people were tweeting about CJ Uzomah dating Kay Adams, and that being one of the reasons that he chose to go play for the Jets. He's tweeting that he is not dating Kay, and that was not a factor in his decision to go to New York. And I think that's funny. So there's a little bit of breaking news as we're recording, James.
But actually, I'll take a shot here, and I don't care because CJ's the man, and I think he'll think it's funny. Well, that would have been at least a good reason, because I heard that the Bengals offered him a similar deal. So it damn sure isn't quarterback play.
Interesting stuff that they had a similar deal on the table. I'm surprised to hear that.
Yeah, it might not have been exact, but I heard it was pretty close.
Interesting. So let's get back to Lyle Collins real quick, James, because I think that, we've been so focused on it makes so much sense on paper, the connection with Frank Pollack, the connection with Joe Burrow, the connection with LSU, that maybe we haven't talked enough about what Lyle Collins is as a player. And the bottom line, the first thing, the prerequisite is that he stays healthy. This is with any player that gets signed. They cleared the medicals. We had heard that was an obstacle. There were some concerns about the hip injury. There were some concerns about some other potential injuries, but they cleared those injuries. So hopefully he stays healthy. That's the bottom line for any player in the NFL. But when he is healthy and when he plays, which you kind of expect, you have to expect that he will, he is the best right tackle the Bengals have had, I would say, since Willie Anderson. I think he's better than peak Andre Smith, at least right now. And Andre Smith was a good player. So before you guys make too many jokes at Andre Smith's expense, he was a good player at his peak in Cincinnati. Good athlete, good pass blocker, perfect scheme fit. And along with Alex Kappa and Ted Karras, the right side of the Bengals offensive line has gone from, okay, opposing defenses attack this relentlessly and get free shots on Joe Burrow, to, all right, well, maybe try left guard, depending on what happens at left guard, because the right side can pass block now. And it's not just pass blocking either. The Bengals, conceptually, from a design perspective, should be opened up. And this is a big, big deal. They're no longer pigeonholed into certain concepts or have to take certain things out of the playbook because they know they can't block them, especially on that right side. And so Lyle Collins bringing that stability as a pass blocker, bringing a little bit of athleticism, bringing some strength, being the third added glass eater in Frank Pollack's terms on this offensive line in this free agency period, cannot be understated how much better the Bengals got at right guard and right tackle, at least on paper at this point, a week into the free agency process.
I think there's a potential kind of realistic scenario where Jonah Williams is the third best offensive lineman on the Bengals in 2022. And maybe not, maybe it isn't Kappa and Kappa's third. I get that. I understand Williams can continue to develop and be better. And that would be the hope. I would hope that. I hope he's actually the best tackle on the Bengals in 2022. And Collins is a Pro Bowler. And then you look up at Jonah and he's just balling out. But my point is that's the thing, is the right side was a punching bag. They might as well have put me on the right side of the damn offensive line. It was that bad. And it got worse when you supplement that with a guy in Trey Hopkins who's coming off of the knee, and who knows how long it's going to take for him to get back to where he was. Will he come back? I'm not sure. Obviously, the Bengals released him on Friday. So yeah, they've completely revamped that right side. They've brought stability to a spot in center with a versatile piece, which you can't rule out with Karras. Where does he end up? Right now it is center, so we'll call him center Ted Karras, but obviously he has the ability to go elsewhere. But when it comes to Collins, of all these guys, I think he's the best of the bunch. And I think he's got the highest ceiling. And, he was an undrafted free agent. Don't let that fool you. This dude's a first-round pick. All right. And what he did was really genius. He was going to get picked. This guy forced himself to go undrafted so he could sign for much more money. It was a brilliant move, and it was smart, and it made sense at the time. So hopefully the Bengals are getting the best of Lyle Collins, because if they get the best out of him over the next 3 seasons, I think he will be a Pro Bowler, and hopefully he's not playing in many Pro Bowls. But I certainly think he's got the talent to do that. And a big part of this to me, and I know Malik Wright tweeted this, Frank Pollack and that connection and in those ties. And Dan Horde asked on Friday when Collins was in town, he was in the building, we were in the building, and Kappa got introduced, and Karras got introduced, and Hayden Hurst also got introduced, which maybe we'll hear from them at some point. But Dan Horde asked Frank Pollack about Collins, and you could just see how excited Frank was to potentially relink and potentially reunite with a guy like Collins.
Relationship with LC, love him to death. He definitely fits the mold of a glass eater. Just watch his tape. That's clearly evident. He is nasty, and he was a lot of fun to coach. And then, so we'll see where all that stuff.
If you say something like that, man, and I think at that point they probably felt pretty good about the deal getting done. I don't know how you get on it. I mean, I know he was asked.
Yeah.
I loved coaching him. I love him to death. We have a good relationship. Glassy, like all the buzzwords, right? That makes you think. And that's one of the big reasons that it's like, oh yeah, if Pollack's talking like that, it's gotta be close. And I guess it probably was in realistic terms. It was close. Something clearly happened and caused it to take another beat. But it's exciting for Frank Pollack to get one of his guys back, one of the guys that he helped to develop in Dallas. Really took off, unfortunately, for Pollack after he left. Took the biggest leap after Pollack had left town and had done all the development work already. And then he didn't get to reap the benefits of Collins' development in Dallas, but now he does. And this is a guy, James, I went back and I looked at my tweets in the Lyle Collins draft, 2016, 2015.
15.
And
15.
And I at the time had tweeted, would you trade up for Lyle Collins? I would trade up for Lyle Collins. This was before the investigation stuff happened. And I was full steam ahead. So you can imagine I'm thrilled. Somebody asked me today on Twitter, how happy are you on a scale of 1 to 10? For me, it's a 10. This is one of those things that made so much sense on paper, from a scheme fit perspective, from a talent level perspective, from a need perspective, from a connections perspective with LSU and Burrow and Frank Pollack. And then they got it done. So it's hard to take anything off. If you go look at our free agent sheet, I gave him a perfect tier 1 score. I think I was the only one to do so. And so I'm very excited that they got this done.
Yeah, you should be. And I think I had a 1.5 on him because of the injury, right? But because of things that could have potentially held up the deal, right? I think that there is a very real possibility that the physical, there were things that delayed it, and things that maybe the Bengals were concerned about. I would not be shocked at all, but happy about this. But here's how we're going to tease it. You said you're a 10. Am I feeling the same way? I'm going to give my 1 to 10 rating next. But first, it's that time of the year, the Sweet 16. Can't believe that couple of days, Kentucky going down to St. Peter's. They're headed to the Sweet 16, baby. And you can wager on them and so much more at BetOnline. They're the best spot for all the scores and news this season, whether it's college hoops, whether it's NBA, whether it's anything in between. Maybe you want to bet on the Bengals to go back-to-back AFC championships after landing a big fish in Lyle Collins. You can do that and so much more. All of your sports wagering information needs, live betting, casino games, and so much more at BetOnline. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to sign up. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Okay, James, 1 to 10. How happy were you with the news from a Bengals perspective that Lyle Collins is the new Bengals right tackle?
It's a 10, without a doubt.
Yeah,
and it's because of the drop off.
Yeah.
I left the cliffhanger, but the drop off is Darrell Williams or bust. Like, they're not in on Terron Armstead. So, like,
no, he's headed to Miami, actually, as we speak.
As a visit. Yeah, as a visit, right?
Yeah.
But the point, the point, so that's not a possibility. So you take him away, and if you're looking at our tracker, you're like, oh my God, what are they going to do at right tackle? And so it's a 10. He would have been, if he was just a free agent and didn't get released, he would have been up there like our tiers. He would have been up there on anybody's board. So the fact that the Bengals got him, got a tier 3 guy in Kappa, who I think we could look back, much like some of their other signings, and be like, man, he was a steal. And then a steady presence like Karras. It was just it was a hell of a haul. Because if the Bengals are going to compete, look around the AFC. If they're going to really compete, it's going to be unlocking all of what Joe Burrow has and all of what this offense can do. And the only way to do that is to protect what they have. And they could not do that last season really at all in big moments. And they were able to really fortify that offensive line over the past week. Night
and day difference that I would expect from last year to this year. We're going to see what Joe Burrow looks like with a pocket. We saw it in 2 games last year when they really actually protected well. And now we get to see it for a full year. They've got the weapons. And Hayden Hurst, we haven't really talked a ton about Hayden Hurst, have we? Hayden Hurst is not the blocker that CJ Uzomah was. He's going to play a different position, but he might be a better pure receiver than CJ Uzomah. I think that's close.
I would agree. I'd hate to cut you off just because people like live reactions. The Bengals have officially announced the signing. 3-year deal confirmed through the 2024 season. Excellent. It is official, Bengals fans.
Excellent.
But yeah, I would agree with you.
Paper.
I think I hate to cut you off. Sorry, but the Hayden Hurst, he was motivated as hell the other day and all hyped up and like, hey, there's a reason I was the 25th pick and I haven't had a chance. And honestly, even if 80% of that's BS, right? If 20% of him feels that way, and I think he feels that way deep down, can Joe Burrow get more out of him? Right? Like because I think Joe Burrow got the most out of Uzomah. Like I do. Like can we stop pretending like CJ Uzomah was a fan favorite 2 years ago? I loved him because he was great to the media and he was always great to talk to. But always, right? Even when he was the third tight end in that room, like I would go to him and ask him for stuff. So that part of it, but can Hurst be everything you mentioned and then some from a pass catching standpoint? I think he's got the ability for sure.
Yeah, he's a different player. He's going to play a different position. The offense is going to look different when he's on the field versus when CJ was on the field. I just wanted to take a second. Let's reflect and then look forward to what we expect. About 30 minutes before the news broke from Mike Garafolo that Lyle Collins was finalizing his agreement with the Bengals, I tweeted the Bengals free agency timeline so far, and it was Alex Kappa, Ted Karras, BJ Hill on Monday. Big start. Tuesday, nothing at all on Tuesday of the tampering period. Then free agency opens, and it's a quiet day. Clark Harris and Michael Thomas, the safety, re-signed with the Bengals on 1-year deals. Then on Thursday, a lot more of their own guys come back. Mike Thomas, Brandon Allen, Eli Apple re-sign. And then Hayden Hurst agrees to terms. So they find a tight end after Jack Conklin goes elsewhere. It sounds like they're Jack Conklin. Do I have the right Conklin? Tyler Conklin. The tight end. Yeah.
Yep.
Goes elsewhere. Also to the Jets with CJ Uzomah. They get a tight end. And that's a little bit of excitement, but all eyes at that point already on Lyle Collins. Jaron Reed also visited over the weekend and then Sunday, Lyle Collins signed. So I had to do the same tweet 30 minutes later with the addition of Lyle Collins. But
just a small change,
a small change. I also added angst everywhere from Friday to Saturday because that's how Bengals fans were on the internet. And
me too. I mean, because I didn't know if I was going to have to go to Paul Brown Stadium for a news conference, because there's a chance if they get a deal done Saturday morning, then I got to go. And so you can't. So I was just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, I ended up running a bunch of errands to pass time, and I was ready to go home at any moment in case we had to record. But so the upgrades, the changes into the starting lineup now look like Hopkins to Karras at center, Adeniji to Kappa at right guard, Isaiah Prince or Riley Reif to Lyle Collins at right tackle, Uzama to Hayden Hurst at tight end. And then there's now just a couple questions left, right? Who takes over for Ogunjobi as the primary 3-tech? Is that BJ Hill, or is BJ Hill still the jack of all trades? I think they're still looking for a rotational 3-tech who can do some one gap pass rushing emphasis kind of work. I think the left guard is still in the air. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see Quentin Spain come back, to see a guy like Ode Ibushi, a veteran who has experience to provide a baseline of play, be thrown into the mix. I don't know if they, with the emphasis on veteran play, will want to leave it entirely up to one of their young guys to take over left guard, but maybe that's a plan. We'll see. The other one is Eli Apple started at corner for them all year. My impression, I think your impression as well, James, is that they were going to look to upgrade at corner. And right now it's just Eli Apple back on a $4 million deal. That is not starting corner money. It'll be interesting to see if they look to find any additions at any of these spots. I think that's where they're looking. I don't think it's a guy like JC Treader. I don't think it's a guy like Stephon Gilmore, although they were linked to him over the weekend. I'll believe that when I see it. I do think they're looking for depth at these positions, and potentially they could try to find one of these 1-year prove-it deals for somebody to try to find a veteran at one of those spots as well.
Yep. No doubt about it. I do know Quentin Spain's still in town. And so wouldn't be shocked if that's part of it, as far as the offensive line. But I think now they're the focus on other spots, probably not going to be offensive line. They might do one more depth signing and then see what happens draft wise and then go from there. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't bring back. I mean, as you were talking, like the idea, could you bring back Riley Reif as a depth piece if he wanted to come back and just not get his butt kicked and be a backup in multiple spots? Probably not, and you probably made a face. I'm looking at the camera. You probably made a face when I said it, but there's a lot of possibilities. And you know why there are possibilities? Because we're talking about backups or one competition at one spot. Not, hey man, let's see what happens as these 3 guys go at it for 4 spots.
Let's throw 10 offensive linemen at the wall and see what sticks.
Oh my God. Deontay Smith. Oh no, Isaiah Prince. I love those guys on the bench when they need to come in spot duty. And that's not disrespectful. They just have to cut their teeth the same way I had to cut my teeth in this business, and everybody does in anything they need to do.
Or win the job. Veteran. Yeah.
Correct. And so I do think that they'll bring a veteran left guard in to make Carmen and Smith and one of those guys push the envelope. And hopefully they do. There would be nothing better than those guys balling out and, playing like Pro Bowlers.
Yeah. So I think we have some work left to do in free agency. Really curious to see the Collins contract. Of course, expecting the Trey Waynes cut to come imminently. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. Note that I continue to talk about it as if it's an inevitability. People keep asking, "Oh, is he going to be on the team?" Come on, we've said this several times at this point. If he's a Bengal on his current contract next year, I would be shocked. Go ahead.
Oh, if he's a Bengal, period, I'll be shocked. But I agree. It's even less likely on that current deal. I think you're more likely to play left guard than Trey Waynes is to play cornerback for the Bengals. For the Bengals.
There you go.
And Built Bars ain't making you a good left guard, my man. They can do a lot of things. Jake Liscow, left guard, not one of them.
I have the build of a kicker, generously. I think we have a point here for the Burrow effect, James. It was pointed out to me by Aaron Parker at MemBengal on Twitter. The Bengals beat out the Patriots for 2 guys, in Lyle Collins, who we know they had an offer for now, and Ted Karras, who they had a lower offer for, to be fair, but they had an offer for. And they beat Brady for the other one in Alex Kappa. And it sounds like Brady did at least try to get Kappa to come back when he announced he was coming out of retirement. Too little, too late for Tommy B. But his loss is the Bengals gain, and a point for the Burrow effect, right? People were kind of asking, where's this Burrow effect? And now there's a little bit of evidence to back that up, or a little bit more evidence, I should say, to back that up.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you hope that it continues. And this is when the Burrow effect could really take effect, right? If you're a veteran and maybe you want to battle for a guard spot, or you're a veteran and you think you can make an impact on defense. Well, you look at it now. Well, where's the Bengals' biggest weakness? Well, they've appeared to solve it. So it's a pretty attractive landing spot. One last thing, because we were talking about Hayden Hurst and, all the Gerald Everett, all the Gerald Everett speculation was the word I was thinking about. I don't think Zach Taylor wants to coach Gerald Everett. So I'm not suggesting that next year if the Bengals still need a tight end. He signed with the Chargers.
Oh, he signed with the Chargers. That's interesting. Yeah. I was wondering where he'd land, but yeah, I mean, this is 2 years in a row he's been available, and Taylor does know him well. Too. Yep. And they have not gone after him either year. So there you go. Lyle Collins, done deal. Everyone can celebrate. I know some people at least have some cigars they're breaking out for the occasion. So that's pretty fun. We'll see where the Bengals go from here. And we'll see what the Bengals will look like next year. We've got a whole week of content, of course, coming your way. We'll be here with breaking news as it happens, as needed. And a little bonus, if you're a hockey fan, got to tell you about this real quick. Tomorrow for the NHL trade deadline. Is it tomorrow? We'll have at 3 p.m. Eastern, 20 NHL shows live with coverage for the trade deadline. So if you are an NHL fan, go check that out. Find your Locked On NHL team and follow along for the excitement at the trade deadline. That will be live streamed everywhere. So if you're a Blue Jackets fan and they're one, actually I shouldn't say Blue Jackets because I'm not sure which 20 shows it'll be, but there will be 20 shows live. So go find out if your team will be one of those 20 live shows and check those out. We'll be back with Bengals news and analysis for the rest of the week here on Locked On Bengals. Until next time, Bengals fans, hoo-day and have a good one.